Okay, Paula, so this is my first try. Here we go. And you can hear Jerry in the background doing my screencast.
Jerry's in the background. Sorry, I'm screwing it up. Goodbye.
Bye. All right, so I like your lesson title, and you chose a good writing standard, writing narratives to develop real or imagined experiences. I like that you dug down through the writing standard into the evidence outcome to engage and orient the reader by setting out problem, situation, etc. I love your essential question, and I really love that you brought your essential question into your lesson plan. That's something I've been harping about, and clearly you've been listening. Thank you. For your students will be able to, in this area right here, you'll have to tell me if you can see what I'm doing right there. Okay, I highlighted your students will be able to. Would you go ahead and bullet those out so that it's really clear that there are 3 different things you want them to do? First, recognize key events. Second, difference between first and third person narration. 3, make a case for its reliability based on events of the text. I think you might have a little typo in there. All right, for your formative assessment, right? So you'll have to tell me if you can see my arrow moving around here in the area I want you to look at. All right, for your formative assessment, go ahead and put that in, not so much your teacher speak, but your teacher think, but your teacher persona. So in other words, instead of saying, read out loud to the class, different passages of text with different perspective for students to identify the points of view in narration. Instead, say, students will provide verbal feedback to indicate whether they can identify point of view of narration. That way when someone comes to observe you, they know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it. Not so much the you part, but the student part, like what your teacher rationale is, okay? Your summative assessment looks good, describing 3 types of narration and what types of reliability they possess and why. So, I like the fact that you included some differentiation and modification. I did have an overall concern, though. I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Hope that doesn't make you dizzy. So, our established goal is to write narratives to develop real or imagined experiences, and our goal is that we're writing a lesson plan that helps the kids write. And so you want to help the kids write in such a way that engages and orients the reader. You want to help the kids write in such a way that they're developing experiences and events. But your lesson plan really feels more like a reading lesson plan. So I like your bell work, right, relationship to life, how do you feel if someone lied to you, blah, blah, blah. Right off the bat, though, you have them discussing their bell work instead of writing about their bell work. If it's going to be a writing lesson plan, might be a good idea for consistency. I also think that a transition in between bell work and definition would probably be a good idea. And go ahead and script out that transition so that I know that you're thinking about it and that you can do it fluidly. I like that you provide definitions. I love that you have multiple examples throughout your lesson plan. I love that you included grammar and looking at the pronouns to help the kids act. That's all really good, really good. Then you have a worksheet of sentences with different reliabilities and points of view, which also includes questions asking students to write sentences. I really like that. I like your worksheet. I like that you included it. The piece that we want to move into, though, is making this a writing lesson. So you say, I have a general question of the class. What is the importance of the narrator's point of view? How does it affect a story? Your exit ticket is list of 3 possible narrative combinations in any given story with explanation. The exit ticket is a little unclear to me. This may be where you're asking them to think about the story, the narrative you will be creating, which narrator will you use and why, in which case this has become a pre-writing lesson plan. And then we're good to go. But you just have list of 3 possible narrative combinations in any given story. And so I don't think that's where you went. So I'm going to ask you to change, keep the heart of what you have and a ton of components I really like, but change that end piece so that it really becomes a writing lesson. Maybe it's a pre-writing lesson, like I said. Think about your narrative. What would your narrative look and feel like if you had this point of view versus that point of view? What would be the reason for including or not including an unreliable narrator? Things like that. This will be a rough transition going from 308 to 341, because in 308 we focused a little bit more on the reading techniques. I think those are a little easier. And the writing techniques and lesson plans are going to be a little more difficult. So overall, I really like this. You got some awesome components. Drill down on the writing piece by making sure that each and every single bullet point in your lesson plan realigns to the standard. And your standard is engaging and orienting the reader so that we can write an effective narrative. All right, I look forward to hearing your feedback in class tonight, and please do be honest if this works, if it didn't work, if you could see my cursor moving and my highlights, if my voice was loud enough, all those kinds of things. All right, thanks, Paula.